JB, we have our player focus segment for this week, and as interviewing a name you'll hear a lot in 2018. I find that to be very true. It's a name I heard a lot actually in 2017, but they didn't have enough wins to go along with it necessarily to give him, let's say, the higher profile that usually comes with that. But right now, his school is starting 2-0 for the first time since, what was it, 2010, I think you told me earlier?
2010, yeah.
So let's introduce senior quarterback from FDU-Florham. Perhaps we could call him a protege of our good friend Jimmy Robertson, who's the offensive coordinator out there. And let's bring in Jagger Green in the huddle. Jagger, how are you?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing great, thank you.
So Jagger, you're going into week 3, sitting atop the MAC standings with the best record of 2-0, exactly how you guys planned it, right?
Of course. And the goal since day one.
So Jagger, walk us through it though. Obviously, 2-0 is a challenge. Union got their first 2-0 start, I think, since 2005. You guys since 2010. We're seeing some teams that maybe have had some problems of late bouncing back. You've seen a lot of losses in your time there, and we'll talk a little bit more about your history, a little bit later on. But what has led to this minor turnaround here? You can't call it a complete turnaround because you got to win more games throughout the season. But the 2-0 start, what has led to it in your mind so far?
Well, like you said, all those losses that came in between, they were mainly learning points. We took, everything that we learned from those losses and incorporated into this year. So it really helped us. And I feel like the main thing that we really needed to work on was leadership. And throughout those past 3 years, like you said, the ups and downs, the main thing that really struggled was leadership. So we put a huge focus on that this year, and it really turned out well for us.
It certainly has been, JB. It's a name of a school you don't hear, but they are right now atop the leaderboard with Alvernia in the MAC technically.
Yeah, fairly Dickinson U, as it were. But Jagger, you've had a great career, wins or losses aside. Last weekend you claimed, I think, the passing yards and completions school records. You have over 5,000 passing yards on your in your 4-year, well, not quite 4-year career. You're creeping up on 40 touchdowns. But looking back on the game against William Patterson, who's also a program trying to get things going the other direction, while you had a lot of success in the air and you completed, I think, 35 passes for 320 yards and 3 touchdowns, your running game was a little bit stymied. So were you passing the ball more because of the struggles of the run? What's kind of been going on with the Devils, and what's Coach Robertson specifically, kind of working on to get a little more of a balanced attack here? Or are you you're a quarterback, you just want to keep chucking it all game?
Well, I mean, if you know Coach Robertson, you know his background, where he came from. We like to sling the rock, really. So
he does.
That's just the way our offense is. Multiple options. We look for the best options. We look, numbers, and sometimes, it's easier to take a quick throw than a run, and that's how our offense is based.
Jagger, let's go to the history a little bit for you personally. For people that look at your stat sheet, they'll see 2014, then 2016, 17, 18, and you were not injured in 2015. Tell us about what happened in 2015 and what made you come back ultimately, and if you're happy with the choice you made ultimately to do so.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy with the choice I made. In 2014, I played that full year, and, just as a regular freshman, you don't really know where you're headed in life, and you don't really know what's best for you. And that year off really helped me, gather my thoughts, really think about, what I wanted to do with my life, where I wanted to be. And I just ever thinking that, over that year, I just didn't want to be the average person. I didn't want to be just another kid on the campus walking around. I wanted to do more. I knew that I believed in myself, and I feel like I made the best decision I could in my entire life so far.
What are you going to do when you graduate then? It sounds like you have a pretty good grasp on your future, or where you'd like your future to be. What will we see for you down the line?
I did get a job offer as a junior estimator for a general contracting company. I'm still weighing out those options, as Coach Robertson did before. He did play overseas in Germany, so I've been thinking about that. So I have both of those options, and I'm still stuck. I don't really know which one I want to push for, but hopefully by the end of this year I'll know.
Okay, but there were so much worse positions to be in at this point, and we're well short
Yeah.
of graduation time for you and everything. So, hey, congratulations on at least being in a position to consider both possibilities for you. That's great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, we've known a couple of different players over the years that have gone overseas or elsewhere. They found different opportunities to play professional or semi-professional football. You know, now with the advent of leagues now like the AAF or the XFL, who knows what kind of crazy rules they'll have. As a quarterback, you may not want to play in that league, Jagger, but at least it sounds like you got plenty of options there. Yeah, no, there might be hits to the head might actually be legal there, or like steel chairs to the back or something. But
Health is wealth. Health is wealth, man.
Jimmy would love that personally. I think. Yeah, I think he's a big WWE fan. So we won't go there though. JB, let's ask some football questions, probably, or college football questions. How's that?
yeah, so you guys have a new opponent coming up this weekend. Alvernia is a new program, but they're actually also undefeated. Ironically, typically these startups they go through a couple of over years, but lo and behold, they pulled together a win in their first game. They looks like they have a pretty big running back. They've got a tough defense that really bottled up Gallaudet in that game. There's really only one game tape of these guys. There isn't a history of information out there. How is there a different way you prepare for a brand new opponent like this, Jagger, versus a MAC conference member that you played 2 or 3 times over your career? You kind of know the personnel. What's some of the difference between sort of facing a startup type of program like Alvernia versus your more traditional MAC or New Jersey school rivals?
Well, just like you said, there's not much film on them, but like you said, they're young, they're hungry, so we just have to focus on doing what we do as an offense, as an entire team, and we have to really work and have our best week of practice this week.
Sounds like the plan to really have in a situation like this. Go out and do it the way you're going to do it. Ultimately, play your game and don't let the other team pretty much dominate the situation. I ask this question frequently to players that we have on, and even coaches that we have on. We had Coach Strock on a little bit earlier this week. And I asked this about a team that was turning from an Ofer and Wilkes into a team that's now got a win on the board. How do you benchmark success in this season for your team? Now, granted, this is your last season, but what would make this a successful season versus something that you'll look back at fondly, but maybe not look at it as much of a success? What's the benchmark for you?
I mean, sky's the limit for us. We want to shoot for that ultimate goal. Coach Sherrace, Coach Robertson, we always talk about at the end of the year, we'd love to play, an extra game. But we want to be number one. We want to be on the top. We're shooting for the stars, and we'll see how the season turns out.
Yeah, you definitely. It's the old 1 week at a time mantra, Frank. So, they're going to be heading down there to Reading this Saturday to take on Alvernia. And Jagger, I know we have a lot of times people are like, you guys always have the quarterbacks on or the offensive guys. But it sounded to me from looking at the box score, as much as you were responsible for your win against William Patterson, your defense really bailed you out a couple times. I think they had 3 interceptions on the day, and they seem to have stepped things up on the other side of the ball. Tell us about what it's like, going against these guys in practice and how they've made you a better player in offense.
Those guys, they've come out with a different energy this year. I mean, those guys are fired up every practice. It's really helped our offense too, because now we're looking at a team, at a defense that's, right now looking like one of the top defenses in the conference, and that's not going to do anything else but, help us as a complete offense. So being able to go against those guys every day and compete has just been, a cornerstone of our success.
So, Jagger, as we wrap things up, we normally give the opportunity for the player guests to give shout-outs. But before we do it, I did a little digging on the internet. It's a great resource we have out there, and I'm such a tech guy. And so, as I was looking at the old roster pages and whatnot, I dug this one up right now. I got to say, 4 years, definite improvement, I think. What do you say?
Yeah.
What do you think there, JB?
I mean, those are some serious shoulder pads right there, man. That's good stuff. But yeah, he's grown up into he's a dude now.
He is a dude, and
jacket.
Actually, Jagger, can I have speaking of dress, suits and stuff like that? have you met anyone who wears fancier or nicer socks and clothes than Coach Robert? He definitely seems to really pride himself on the sock game for some reason. I've seen, a lot of you folks, you're doing selfies like that. He's taking pictures of his socks and his shoes when he's on the recruiting trail. I mean, when you go on the road, you're going on the road this weekend, are you going to bust out some like Superman? Like, is there like a special game day sock that you wear because of Coach Robertson?
Well, I mean, I think you just brought something up for us. I think we might have to do that as a whole team now and get some crazy socks going on in that bus pregame.
I think so.
But yeah, Coach Robertson prides himself on that. He's a big sock social media guy, and it's funny because my dad, he's a like manager for AT&T, and he's the same way. He posts his socks on Facebook every day. Every day.
So it's an old guy thing, is what you're saying, and Jimmy now qualifies as old.
Well, he was one of our original show guests back in 10 years ago, Frank. And if Jagger can lead his team to a win, they will be 3-0 for the first time since 1995, which was when I was still in college and you were just getting your start as a broadcaster.
That was my first year. So 1995 was the first year I was on the air for Union College, believe it or not.
Old school. So I think we're bringing the old school Sox power going here.
Unreal. One thing though, you were telling us about the suit. I wanted to hear what you had to say about this suit exactly.
That was, freshman coming in, I was not prepared at all, and I needed to borrow a suit, and that was actually Coach Serace's suit jacket right there. So that thing holds a lot of memory around here.
Talking about the shirt off your back, the jacket off your back. I mean, whatever.
It holds a lot of something. I'm not sure exactly what though. Nonetheless, Jagger Green, after putting you through all that, we're going to give you plenty of time for shout-outs. So shout-out to any friends, family, fans, anybody that might be watching this. Jagger Green, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'd love to get a shout-out to, my offensive line, my receivers, and the defense as well, the entire team. We've been putting in work from day one, and we've really had a different mindset this year. The coaching staff, Coach Robertson. I mean, I don't think I'd be where I'm at without the guidance of Coach Robertson. And he's really helped me get to this point where I'm at right now. And, most importantly, my mom, my dad, they've always had my back through the ups and the downs. They've known where I've been from day one. And it's going to be a great story. I'm ready to go.
Honestly, in some weird way, without Jimmy Robertson and Aaron Savassi back in the old days, we may not be here on this show to this day. They were kind of the guests that we were always the go-to guests because people loved hearing from them so often back in the audio days. And the only reason why it worked was because it was audio only, not video. And now, strapping young lad like yourself is much easier to put on the air on video than the days with Jimmy and Aaron. Trust me on that. Just trust me. Jagger, thanks for joining us.
If your coach gives you too much of a hard time, Jagger, just to remind him that back in the day we used to refer to him and his wide receiver as they were like Vinny Chase and Johnny Drama from Entourage. They had this whole crew going there in New York. So, all right.
Just remind them that Jagger, we do have the archives. We have the archives of their old interviews, and I think you were much better than they ever were. So just let them know that, okay?
I would love to hear some of that. Yeah, because I got to get on.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Jagger, we could do this all day, but we're not going to do that to you. So thanks for joining us. Good luck this week against Alvernia, and we look to see more of you in the future and hear more from you in the future as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It was a fun time.